As you guys know, I've been an advocate of the pass rush since the Detroit Lions and even before the Detroit Lions drafted Aidan Hutchinson. And I think that it is the key. Getting to the quarterback one way or another is the key to getting to and winning our first Super Bowl. But it seems like that some of the fans, not all of them, because trust me, I see you guys in the comment section, have maybe started to understand and agree with me, not necessarily saying that they watch me, but they starting to agree with me that the Detroit Lions need to get to the quarterback. And the quickest way to do that is with a defensive end. You can use defensive tackles and linebackers, but the quickest way is to have a capable defensive end. Brad Holmes came out after day 2 of the NFL draft, and he stated that a defensive end was more of a priority than for the fans and the media than for the Detroit Lions themselves. Then he comes out after the draft is completely over and says that the local media has been on him, no diddy, has been on him, on his behind about the pass rush. And there is a reason for that. Now, I myself think, as I've stated several times, that that is the key to us winning our first Super Bowl, at least getting there, but also winning. If you put our offense with a capable defense, top 10, able to get to the quarterback, I think those two things combined wins us our first Super Bowl, right? But Brad Holmes, when you talk about a defensive end, it's the only position now that I see in the 5 years that he's been a general manager now, 5 drafts, that he really gets agitated when you talk about. He gets super defensive when you talk about it in both person and over the airwaves. Today, he did his radio show with the local radio station 97 won the ticket. He does it every Tuesday during the off season, and we hear Dan Campbell during the season. We also hear Jared Goff on Wednesday, I believe it is. So Brad Holmes was not in front of the media, but he was on local radio today, and there's about a 6-minute clip where he is asked about the pass rush, specifically the defensive end. Here was his reaction. And you know, I know a lot of you guys, you can't stand me. I understand that. I get it. And that's something I'm willing to take. And for everybody in the comment section that think I'm self-absorbed or whatever the situation, I mean, after all, it is my opinion I'm putting out there. This is a YouTube channel that I run. So it's not about me being self-absorbed. It's about that I put out an opinion and I speak. When I mention myself, like who else am I going to talk about? I'm giving you my opinion. You don't hear anybody else's opinion on my channel 99% of the time. So it's not about me. It's about the stand that I take in my opinion. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people feel like I'm making this about me. It is my YouTube channel, but it's not about me. It's about my opinion. And unless you're going to put your opinion on the internet, maybe you don't understand. But here is what Brad Holmes had to say. And we're going to talk about this. And then we're going to go and kind of see if there's any validity to this, to what he's about to say. But I want you to notice when Brad Holmes started talking about the defensive line, how defensive he gets. Let's check it out.
You know, and if it fits, I mean, but you just have to be at peace with that.
I know you've been asked a ton about edge. Do you understand why people inundate you with the questions? Like, do you think it's a fair...
I don't understand it.
So, I mean, because you've said that the injuries are why you assume you're getting the questions. I think even before Aidan got hurt, people wanted to know about a running mate opposite Aidan just because of the lack of production on the opposite edge. So you don't see that the way that on the outside we see that.
Well, I'm curious, like, you know, let's look at all the, so you brought up Aidan Hutchinson. Would you say Aidan Hutchinson is an elite edge rusher?
Yeah.
Okay. How many elite edge rushers are in the NFL?
I'd say 5 or 6.
Okay, I think that's fair. And obviously there's 32 teams in the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually 2 edge rushers on the field at the same time, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're in, barring injury or anything else, now you're talking about 64 players, right? We have one of the 5 or 6, right? Why? How come all of the 5 or 6? How come it's not just 1 or 2 when you look at the whole team? Like, how come one team doesn't have 2 elite ones?
I don't know that the
how
ask
come
is...
another team that doesn't have 2 elite ones? Well, we talked about it. It's they're They're hard to find, they're hard to get, they're hard to acquire. But I have felt like ever since we have acquired Aidan Hutchinson, as great of a player he is, I always felt like the fan base is almost mad. Like they're mad because we have Aidan Hutchinson. Because now he's so good, well, why don't you have two of them? And so now it goes in that, but I have been curious.
It's never enough, right? Yeah, that's kind of how it feels.
I've been curious, the teams that have those elite 5 or 6 edge rushers in other media markets, I have been curious, okay, we have an elite edge rusher. All we're going to ask is about edge rusher. You know what I mean? Like, and we all know who those players are. When you go to those cities and those media markets and they have an elite edge rusher, all you do is get questions about edge rusher. But you have an elite one. But all you're asking about is, well, how come you don't have another one?
Yeah, I don't know
and
if the
then now
ask
you get into are you trying to build a football team or are you trying to just pair in? Yes, like I've said all the time, we would love to have 3 or 4 of them, but that's not reality all the time.
Yeah, I would just point out, I don't think people, I mean, we'd all love to have 2 elite edges. I think people just want more production than, say, you've gotten from the position in 23 and 24. From a sack standpoint, from the second end position, and if that's an area that, yeah, maybe you can't get one of the elite guys, but is there more that could be done? You've said you've tried to trade it up, so I do wonder if some of that is, you do understand where people are coming from on that level.
Well, yeah, if you bring in 24, I mean, at one point we had 5 injured defensive ends. So that was a little bit of an anomaly. Of course, like when you have, we got up to 5 that were injured. And then, well, yeah, we have to find someone to finish out the season. Mm-hmm. We made the trade for Za'Darius, but and then, you know, obviously we just have been steadily improving the roster year by year. But so I do understand the attrition and the depth component of it. But again, it has to all line up as well. So it's not just, again, you can draft an edge rusher. That's easy. That we can do that every single round. We can draft one. Now, does he fit? Does he fit the requirements that we're looking for in a player? Then now that's a whole different story. Because if you draft that edge rusher that's not contributing to the level that we would all like, then what's next? Oh, find another edge rusher, right?
Right.
Find another edge rusher because that one wasn't good enough. Well, we drafted one, right? I thought that's all we needed to. I thought all we needed to do was draft one, right?
Draft a good one, Brad.
If that player's
that's
not
what people
performing,
are saying.
then now, or if the player's not starting, if he's a backup, if he, you know what I mean. So you got to look into all of those things. So I mean, I understand. Yes, you want more production. If you count 2024, where we had just a litany of injuries at that one position among other spots, I can understand that with the recency bias. But we do have we have an elite one, and that's the only one that I kind of don't understand is we have an elite one, but all we get asked is edge rusher.
Well, let's talk about that elite one and Aidan Hutchinson, which I don't think anybody's mad, actually, that we do have. We love him, and we want him to be here a long time. What's the sense of urgency? Do you think a deal will be done before the season takes off this year?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have a plan in place, and, you know, I always say that we keep that in-house because I don't think it's fair to the player or the agent to speak contractually.
All right, and there you had Brad Holmes in his 6-minute segment on how he feels about an edge rusher. And as I told you guys, he gets real snarky when you start talking about edge rushers. So his point was, and you can see, you know, and this is the part that I talk about when he does the same thing. You guys say that I talk about the edge rusher position a lot. Now you guys understand why, because I think that it's valuable. Now, if you have the most sacks in the league, that does not mean you win a Super Bowl. I mean, obviously I understand that. I think that is your best that it helps a lot. If you were like, I believe honestly, if you took our offense, let's say you took our exact offense, every player, offensive line, receivers, everybody, and you drop that in the Denver Broncos defense, I think you win a Super Bowl. I think if you took Jared Goff, St. Brown, Tim Patrick, all that our entire offense, you put it on the Denver Broncos defense, I think we win a Super Bowl in 2024. If we had a capable pass rusher opposite Aidan in 2023, I think we win a Super Bowl. Those are just my thoughts, and that is why I'm such an advocate of a pass rusher that can get to the quarterback. Now, when it comes to Brad Holmes, and he mentioned that we had 5 players, defensive end, on injured reserve during the season. One of those players was Marcus Davenport. Now, obviously Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have the utmost faith in Marcus Davenport, which is weird to me because this guy has not played an entire season in his career. You got a 33-year-old pass rusher in Zadarius Smith that played every single game, and Marcus Davenport last year, and Marcus Davenport has not played a full season in his career. He has not played a full season in 2 years. He's been on injured reserve season ending. Now, you could say even I thought that the hit was dirty or the chop was dirty. Marcus didn't agree. Brad Holmes said that his injury luck, he hoped it's better. So I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I disagree. Like Marcus Davenport, you trusted a guy. Okay, fine. All right. So Brad Holmes mentioned elite pass rushers, and that, when he starts talking about, well, how many, he knows there's 32 teams in the league. He knows that 32 times 2 is 64. He knows all that stuff. He does the same thing. He gets real snarky when you're asked specifically about the pass rush. Any other thing, if you watch the rest of this interview, they bring up Isaac Tesla, all right? And he's very upbeat, spunk about it. And then you start talking about the defensive line and specifically the pass rush, and he gets irritated, right? How do you think I feel wanting a capable pass rusher? Now, we talk about elite. Now, you guys, Derek, you're still talking about this. Yes, I am. Because although we love Ahmed, he is a 6th-round pick with upside. That's what he is. Zadarius Smith would be a great return right now. He would be great right now. All right. So let's look at Brad Holmes, and let's look at the statement that he made about having how many people have elite pass rushers. Okay, so in 2020, we're going to go from when Aidan Hutchinson was drafted. He was drafted in 2022. In 2022, the Philadelphia Eagles wind up they wind up having the most sacks in the NFL. They had 70 sacks on the season. Here is, oh no, I don't know why it popped back up to the top like this. All right. So let's look and let's see how many sacks they had, and we're going to compare those to the Detroit Lions. We know they had 70. How many did they have from defensive? They had double-digit sacks from defensive end designations. Brandon Graham, who's now retired, had 11, and he was an old man doing this. And then you had Hassan Reddick, defensive end designation. I'm just going by the designation on ESPN with 16. In between that, you had Javon Hargrave, who I don't believe is on the team anymore. I think he went off and went somewhere else. So on this list, and then you had Josh Sweat, a guy that we could have got. Now he has a linebacker designation. So you could kind of, tomato these. It depends on what their designation is. So in this, they had four double-digit sack numbers. Players with double-digit sacks between the defensive end and linebacker designation. And then you have Fletcher Cox with 7. Okay, let's compare that to the Detroit Lions in 2022. Scroll down. Man, I had this pulled up. I don't know why it's doing this. I had it pulled up. All right. Let me get there. Detroit Lions had 39. We got to go. I had it all set up. We got to go to stats. Hopefully the other pages cooperate. So I do that so we can streamline this thing. Okay, so we're going to go down to defense, and we are going to look at sacks. And that's not right because Jack Campbell was not drafted, so I have to go up and switch. I don't know why it does this. We're going to go down to 2022 regular season. It's already under team. We're going to scroll down until we get to sacks. Okay, Aidan Hutchinson's rookie year, he had 9.5. Okay, 9.5. So for us, we had Aidan Hutchinson and James Houston. We didn't even make a player with double-digit sacks. So James Houston had a fluke season. I believe it was a fluke season. You might disagree. Outside of that, The next DN is John Kaminsky with 4, Romeo Okwara with 2. So you have James Houston, who had a fluky season, and Hutch. Hutch has been the only guy, okay? So that's 2021. I'm sorry, 2022. I was being fair to Brad, okay? Now let's go to 2020. I see what's happening now. All right, so 2023, the sack leader was the Baltimore Ravens. No, they were the sack. Yeah, the sack leader was the Baltimore Ravens in 2023. I don't know why it says 4 up here, but in 2023, it was the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens had, I want to say 60 some odd sacks. If you look here, now you can see out of their top sack person, they don't even have a defensive end designation, but they have a linebacker, Kyle Vanoy, who used to play for our team with 12.5. You got Owe, who's got 10. Okay. So again, even though it's not necessarily a defensive end, it is a double-digit sacks. Now you can say, okay, well, Derek, well, what about, well, we can use our linebackers too. That's what we do. We do that. But I want to say that our outside of Hutch and Aleem McNeil, then you have like the next one is always Alex Anzalone. Then we go far back to safeties, but they can't even get double-digit sacks. So the Ravens are kind of like the anomaly when it comes to double-digit sacks. Now, what did the Detroit Lions do in 2023? This was Aidan Hutchinson's second season. He got 11.5. The next one was Aleem McNeil. The next one was Alex Anzalone. So again, we don't get anywhere close to double-digit sacks. But if you look at the DE designation, one more time, 2 with Romeo Okwara, right? So, right, there is a discrepancy. Now, I don't think we were asking for an elite pass rusher. I think we were asking for a capable pass rusher, okay? Now, let's go to 2024. In 2024, the Baltimore Ravens the Denver Broncos led the team of the league in sacks. They had 63. Right now, linebacker, DE. So the first DE that pops up on this list is 8.5. The second one is 7. But they're using their linebackers, Nick Benito and Cooper, double-digit sacks, right? So that's all we're asking. Now, I think that for our team, I would love to see it come from a defensive end designation, but double-digit sacks. Now, of course, the Denver Broncos didn't win the Super Bowl. If we go to 2024, I don't even have to show that because I remember it by heart. Aidan had 7.5. He leads the team, and he went out in October at 7.5. The next closest person to him was Zadarius Smith at 4. Then it was Aleem McNeil at 3.5. Then you had like DJ Reader. He had 3. Alex Anzalone was on that list as well. So when you talk about getting a defensive end, it is always Hutch at the top, and there's always, except Hutch's rookie season and James Houston's fluky season, it would have been, it's nowhere close. Now, let's go with Brad Holmes and what he said about Hutch. And I know this video is running long, but it needs to. Let's go to what he said about Hutch. Let's say Aidan Hutchinson was on a tear. Let's say he gets 21 to 22 sacks. We're going to work the dude half to death. And if you look, I'm very curious to look through the entire NFL and see what we're asking for, Brad, is a Robin. We got our Batman. We need a Robin. We don't even have a Robin, a Nightwing, nothing. And the one guy that could have done that, you cut him, right? Now put in the comment section below. Do you think that's fair that we're asking for Brad Holmes to get a Robin to Aidan Hutchinson's Batman? You don't have to be an elite pass rusher like a Batman. You just got to be capable like Robin. That's all we're asking. And we have not had that. But his failure to address it early in the 2025 NFL draft tells me that he thinks that Marcus Davenport is going to be that guy. Now we'll see if Zadarius Smith comes back. I mean, Zadarius Smith had 9 sacks between 2 teams. He is the closest thing we're going to get to a Robin to Hutch's Batman. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about Brad Holmes' comments? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts. This is my favorite shirt by far of the batch. I do like the training camp shirt as well, but this is really, I really love this shirt. Merchandise hopefully will be getting rolling by July 1st. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. It's because of your support I get to do what I do. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. Sorry this video was so long, but it was a lot to digest. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.